Welcome, welcome, welcome to Excuse Me, Doctor. Thank you so much for joining me, all my Be Health Empowered family. Of course, my name is Dr. Melissa Clark, also known as Dr. Mel. I am delighted that you are tuning in again this week because we are back doing what we always do, which is bringing you the exact information that you need to make informed decisions for yourself, your family, and even your community. So if you are newbies to our show, please go ahead and hit us on Facebook, Dr. Melissa Clark, Facebook. Go ahead and hit that like button. And if you're listening to us on Dr. Melissa Clark's YouTube channel, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button. We really appreciate you on that. And of course, we would love for you to go ahead and put your questions and comments in the chat because we are going to get to them live and in real time. And with all of that out of the way, I have to do this. I have to bring in my fantabulous co-hosts, Larisha and Wayne. Thank you so much for being here. Come on in.
You forgot our names, Dr. Mill.
No, I was pausing. I was pausing for effect. I was pausing for effect.
I understood. I understand what you're doing, Dr.
Thank
Mill.
You straight up forgot our names.
No, I did not.
Okay. All right.
How can I
just want to know where we stand today.
How can I forget my co-host or bringing a word from the street and letting us know what's on the people's mind? How can I forget your name?
I'm feeling some kind of way.
You got to get out your feelings. You got to understand the pause for effect.
Okay.
Yeah.
The pause.
It's the dramatics.
It's the drama.
So I have to do some technical things here. I have to, sometimes we forget the recording part of this thing. So
well, go ahead and make sure you get that. Yeah, please do that. Yeah. See, that was the other pause to give you time to get the recording thing together.
Sure, Dr. Mel.
There you go.
That's more like,
got to take it where you can get it.
Who the heck is on bringing us the word from the street? I'm right off the streets, Dr. Mel. I'm sorry.
On that note, what are we talking about on our show today? What's the main topic?
Larisha, what's the main topic?
So the main topic today, guys, have you ever had a procedure where you were denied by your health insurance, or even a hospital stay where you were denied by your health insurance? A lot of people deal with these types of issues, and it's actually very common, and it relates to those who are dealing with a lump sum, so to say, of medical bills. And so we're going to talk about how to navigate your health insurance if you are denied for any procedure or hospital stay, or if you just want to be preventative and avoid this overall type of issue from happening. So be on the lookout for our main topic today.
That's right. Y'all stay tuned. It's called Denied But Not Defeated. I feel like a minister. How to successfully dispute your health insurance company.
All the pastors will love you for that.
And the title of our message is
right.
The title. Yes,
exactly.
We just need a scripture.
Right. Exactly. And make sure that you sharing with your neighbors that need this word, because a lot of people, you would be surprised how often this happens. In terms of people getting denied for health, denied for services under their health insurance. Got good insurance, but got denied.
Right. And that leads to medical bills that can be unresolved and you can go bankrupt. I mean, there are people in America going bankrupt and losing their houses.
Yes.
And all kinds of things. Their houses getting foreclosed on because of medical bills. So
that's right.
Come on in, don't run from this one. This one's going to be a good one. We have an incredible expert with us this evening. And so.
That's right. So make sure you put your questions in the chat when we get to it. And start typing now if you have had that experience happen to you. Go ahead, type it out if you feel like sharing.
We're going to post it on our social media, and we're going to bring you into the discussion. All right?
That's right. That's right.
But
first, before we get to all of that,
we got to get to the recap, Dr. Mel. We got to go.
That's right. Let's get it in.
Anxiety and depression fuel chronic disease. That's an important topic for us all, because through the pandemic, we faced with some things that made us get this whole anxiety and fueled a lot of that depression. What's the deal on it?
Well, this is a deal. There was a recent study of over 40,000 adults, and it basically showed that women of all ages and younger men with certain mood disorders, so that's things like bipolar disorder or hypomania, are more likely to develop certain chronic disease. And the thing is, the surprising thing was that the younger you were, the more the risk was of this. So, of the men in the study, those people with anxiety and depression who were in their 20s were most likely to develop a chronic condition, with nearly 72% risk increase compared to people of their same age, men of their same age who didn't have anxiety or depression. And in women in their 20s, similar numbers, 61% increase compared to other women who didn't have anxiety and depression. So these are significant numbers that young people should be aware of.
They should, Dr. Mel. What are some of, we think of young people as being fit and vital and everything, and we think of older people as tending to have chronic depression. What's with that?
Yeah, well, the chronic conditions that they developed were high blood pressure, asthma, other lung issues, a lot of cancers. So all those were sort of in play when we talk about chronic disease, and more cardiovascular disease like high blood pressure, like heart attacks, etc. So, we should really focus again on the fact that, young people, this can affect young people. And there are a lot more resources now available to address your mental health, even compared to before the pandemic, right?
Right.
I mean, I'm sure we know some of them.
We have some apps, and I guess we're speaking of insurance. Maybe your insurance will pay for a meditation class and yoga. Not that
Well, I don't know about all of that.
I don't know if I could twist my body in the yoga positions, but I suggest if you can, you must.
Well, if you can, more power to you. But there's also counseling, right? They're also, using telemedicine to reach out to your mental health provider, whether that's a therapist, a psychologist, a psychiatrist. So there are lots of options, and most insurance companies cover mental health. Actually, based upon Obamacare or the Affordable Care Act, that statute made insurance companies have to cover mental health services.
Wow, that's great.
So the next thing that we are recapping, right, is the USPSTF. They suggest that, or propose rather, that reducing the recommended start age for routine screening mammograms should go from 50 down to 40. So that was the latest recommendation, and it carried a B grade, and also calls for screening every other year, and sets off a cutoff, or gives rather a cutoff age of 74. Why the sudden change? Because this now means that those in the medical field should now encourage their patients to get the services more frequently and as appropriate as they see fit. Why the change?
Yeah, excellent recap. And this is really important for women to know. I actually remember in 2016, I was on the Roland Martin show talking about the USPSTF recommendations. That's just a task force that's appointed by the federal government to make recommendations about screening and prevention services. And at the time, they set the age for mammograms to start at age 50, and there was a big brouhaha, so to speak. There was a lot of pushback because even at that point in time, that was only 7 years ago, women were getting diagnosed with breast cancer at earlier ages, and especially Black women. So now they finally responded to those outcries saying, hey, we need to lower the age so that we can catch breast cancer earlier in women that develop it earlier. And a subset of those women that develop breast cancer earlier oftentimes are Black women. So this is really important. You know, talk to a lot of primary care doctors and OBGYNs were already doing this, but it's just now that, it's official. The word on high kind of goes along with what a lot of people were already doing.
Yeah.
So the bottom line is you have to start at 40 now.
Correct. That's the best course of action if you're a woman
Got it.
getting mammograms. Yep.
So, I'm not fit for the next question. I think this is a woman question, but it involves men. So I'm going to turn it over to Larisha. But I can't. I mean, this is for y'all. This is for
And you're
all
gonna
the
have to
women,
tell
y'all.
us at the end how it involves men. But
I'm going to tell you how it involves men.
Larisha's gonna break it down for us. What's up, Larisha?
New medicine for hot flashes. I don't know about hot flashes, but I do have relatives that have experienced this. Even my mom, she can, at the drop of a dime, just go, whoo, I need the air on. Where's the air? So
Yes, I am familiar with that problem. Yeah.
apparently there is some sort of relief
Yeah.
with this.
Well, there's actually been relief for a while in the form of taking hormone replacement therapy like estrogen coupled with progestin. However,
Hmm.
there's a new medicine because there's some people that can't take that combination, right? There's some women
Right.
who are at risk. Maybe they've had blood clots in the past, or there's some other reason they're a breast cancer survivor why they can't take hormone replacement therapy. So this new medicine is a non-hormonal medication.
Hmm.
It's called fezolinetant, and it was FDA approved just recently to treat hot flashes, and night sweats specifically. So it doesn't take care of all the other menopause symptoms like insomnia and itching, and there's like a laundry list of like 500 it seems. It
Right.
specifically deals with hot flashes and night sweats. Um, so it's not as effective as the hormones, but if you can't take the hormones, at least you now have an option. Because relief of hot flashes is not just a comfort issue. It's actually not good for the brain. It's not good for your heart, and so getting rid of them is actually a good thing for your entire body.
So essentially, it's something to control your body's temperature.
Right, or the sensation of the flashes and the sweats. That's right,
Now,
and
how do you pronounce that medicine
it's
again?
called
Because I think me and Wayne had the same face when you
I,
said
I'm trying to
it.
look it up. I'm
It's
trying.
called
I'm trying to.
Fez. So, like the hat, a Fez,
Mhm.
Fezolinetant, Fezolinetant.
Fezolinetant.
There you go. And I'm
You know,
sure it'll
Okay.
be marketed under some other kind of name, but yeah, that's
so,
basically
so I'm quite sure they won't market that under Fezzo anything.
it.
But let me say this:
And have
Fezzo,
Lizzo do the commercials, right?
Fezzo Lizzo, who's not old enough to have a hot flash yet. But let me
Right.
Right.
say this: for all the men who happen to be married to women who may be in that state or may have gone into that state early, we're going to love this drug because you cannot sleep. You'll be able to sleep without having a hoodie on because your wife wants to have a personal air conditioner and regardless of whatever time, because she might have a hot flash at 3 a.m. and you got to be prepared.
I
It
So
was
sounds like
wondering where you were going.
you talking from
I'm
personal
just saying
experience,
it's
but I'm
going
sure
to
you.
help out. It's going to help out men. I need men. I need all the women to send this to the brothers because it, I'm. It's going to be a miracle drug. You're going to be able to sleep.
It'll.
You're going to be able to sleep in your bed warm.
All right. Well, it
OMG.
sounds like you speaking from personal experience, and I'm sure you are singing to many choir members out there. So yeah, there
I'm
you
just
go.
saying.
I guess we're just going to church today, huh?
We are
All
going
over
to
the
church.
place, all over the place.
You know
So
what a time
What
So
time
we
is
have
it?
a new segment. You know what time it is. Whenever Larisha is in, it's
Uh-huh.
time for our segment. Here it is.
What y'all think?
And you know that means we want y'all to put your thoughts in the chat about this next question.
So read the question, Larisha. Come on.
I think somehow Larisha went on mute, but
Somehow
I know
Larisha
she's.
has muted herself, but we love her anyway.
But
Tap the mic, Larisha.
but
That's
I'm,
all
I'm
right,
lip
y'all.
reading. I'm lip reading, and I know what she's saying. She's talking about the COVID public health emergency being over, and people thinking that that means that COVID is over.
Can you
Okay,
hear me?
hold on. We got it
Now we
back.
can hear you. Yeah, but
Oh,
I
there we go.
I was lip
All
reading
right.
for you
She
though.
laughed so hard. She laughed.
Y'all,
Let's
I did not touch my computer. I did not. Okay, but the question, we're trying to see what y'all think. The COVID public health emergency is over. And so, does that mean COVID is over? Yes or no? Because some people are still out here getting COVID. So, is it over? What y'all think? No?
Right. We want to know what y'all think because we still have about 10,000 people going in the hospital every week this past May 1st, but the WHO and the CDC both have said that the COVID public health emergency is over. So we want to know what y'all think. We're going to get back to y'all at the end of the show, see what y'all say.
and we're gonna put everything in the chat. So what y'all think? Put it in the chat. We're gonna get it on, all right? So we're gonna move out of what y'all think. We're gonna stay in this look. You kind of like this look, don't we, Larisha?
Yeah, I think we look real professional. Like we can get some great answers because we have an excellent host that is going to be able to answer every question that we put forth because I mean she just has the knowledge. She
All
was
right.
built for this, you know?
So medical debt is the number one reason in America why people lose their houses. We know that, right? Sometimes it's due to insurance companies refusing to cover health expenses. We're talking tonight we're talking about how to challenge your insurance company denials. We're talking about strategies, real life stories, walking you through, giving you a roadmap on health insurance disputes and standing up for your well-being. So our guest tonight is Harvard educated physician. I heard she was even in Harvard at 15. I mean, incredible. That's a prodigy physician. She is the author of Excuse Me, Doctor, I've Got What? Taking Ownership of Your Health and Making Healthcare Reform Work for You. Please welcome the incomparable Dr. Melissa Clark, also known as Dr. MEL. Give it up.
You supposed to say, welcome to the stage. Welcome to the stage.
Dr. MEL.
Thank you. Thank you for that introduction. And apparently y'all have hijacked the program because y'all gonna be asking me questions tonight. So let's get it on. We are going to talk about denied, not defeated, addressing medical insurance or health insurance company denials. So
Right.
I am here for it.
So, Dr. Mel, like you pay health insurance. And when you pay health insurance, there's this expectation like, okay, I'm covered. So everything should be okay, right? A lot of people don't often know the intricacies and some of those fine words that are within their health insurance. And so if something happens, if you get sick or you need a procedure and you're denied, it's so unexpected and people don't know how to navigate that. First, why does various health insurances deny things? Like, why do they deny things?
So this is a thing. When you sign up for health insurance, you are actually signing a contract with your insurance company. And the insurance company has already set up front those things that they're going to cover and those things that they're not going to cover. And that document is called the benefit summary or the plan description or the evidence of coverage. A lot of times it's online. A lot of times it might arrive in the mail, and it's that big bulky package that you get with the booklet in it. In there are the things that it covers and it doesn't cover. So there's generally a whole section called exclusions, things that they are telling you up front we're not going to cover. But then there are also things that they say, yeah, we will cover it, but we need to review them first and give you permission before you go ahead and do it. And that process is called prior authorization. And there are two things at play here when insurance companies say that. Remember, they're businesses, right? They're trying to minimize costs, but they're also trying to maximize the quality of care for the people that they're covering as well. Because, and this is the thing, if you get subpar care, then down the line, that might lead to complications for you, which is going to mean more costs for them. So they also are safeguarding the quality of care that you get. And they're also trying to keep expenses down by saying, don't go for the most expensive medication in this category. Let's try some other ones first along the way and see if they work. So that's generally the spirit in which a lot of these denials or prior authorizations happen. And a lot of times there are kind of four major categories that they fall into. Hospitalizations.
All right.
Right. Procedures. High cost medications. So we're not talking about, your aspirins or your blood pressure medicine. We're talking about like really expensive chemotherapy drugs or drugs for really rare diseases that cost $20,000 a pop. Or high cost equipment, medical equipment. And lastly, rehabilitation services. So like physical therapy, occupational therapy, speech therapy, especially if they're done in an institution as opposed to in the community or at home.
So Dr. Mel, it would seem to me that as an insurance company, you would want the best medication for the person you're covering, and you will want the best rehab. I mean, so you can get your person healthy, so you don't have to pay long term. I mean, that would be, for me, the long game, right? Instead of playing the short game, which is let's just get you out of the hospital and get you home, because that's gonna make you happy. But it seemed like you would want the best for your clients, because they're not your patients, they're just your clients.
Very cool. Yeah, beneficiaries is the term, or your members.
Oh, your members. Okay.
Yeah.
So that is interesting. I want you to talk to that, but first, let's go back to something you said early. You said we could tell our benefits because it comes in that packet that we never read.
You never read.
It's about 11.5 by 17. Y'all know y'all don't read that insurance package. Y'all don't read it. I got one. I didn't read it.
Right. And most people don't read it, but it's important to read it ahead of time if you know that you're going to be having a procedure or an expensive medication or something along those lines. It is important to at least go check it out, even if you don't read it when you first get it. And then what you were saying about, it would seem that you would want the best. Yes, they, as I mentioned before, insurance companies do want you to get high quality care, but high quality care is not always the most expensive care. It's just like, restaurants, right? The quality of the food that you get at a restaurant could be the best at the hole in the wall restaurant, as opposed to, the Michelin rated restaurant, right? It depends on the quality of the location, the quality of what's given, and not necessarily the price that's attached to it, which can be random and capricious.
So, Dr. Mel, with reading, ensuring that you're reading your packet so that you know what to do to prevent certain things, are there other, steps or preventative methods that can be utilized to avoid this denial from happening?
Yes. So, like you said, first step, boom, get that out the way. Read the summary plan description. Know what's excluded and then what needs to be pre-authorized, like we discussed before. Um, and those services that tend to be need pre-authorization are going to be, again, for example, a new medication or a piece of equipment. So what the first thing you want to do is talk over with your doctor. Okay, what are the things that the insurance company is saying that I need to try first? And make sure that you and your doctor go ahead and try it first. So, for example, let's say you have chronic pain and due to a back problem, right? Rather than directly going to have surgery, you're going to want to first try physical therapy. You might want to try a nerve block. There are other things that are less invasive along the way that may take care of the problem. You don't need to have surgery. And you need to document, or your doctor needs to document that you've tried those things before you get approved to have whatever the surgery is for your back. That's just an example. So that's the first thing. Make sure that you've tried all the steps that the insurance company outlines first. And it's not just a business person coming up with these steps. A lot of times they're relying on the medical literature in terms of what says, what apparently works, right? Short of surgery. Then the next thing is make sure that you give your doctor a complete history, whatever they need to know. So, for example, genetic testing. A lot of times, certain cancers require genetic testing to know, is this something that runs in my family? Do other family members need to be tested? So, you want to make sure that you give your doctor all the information about your family history. There's no point in holding back so that they have the information they need to justify getting that test to the insurance company. And then finally, the other thing is, for the most part, insurance companies do not pay for experimental and investigational treatments. So, for example, just pulling something out the air, stem cell treatments for Alzheimer's disease. I don't even know if that exists, but it's experimental. There haven't been large scale studies done proving that it works. So more than likely your insurance company is not going to cover that. Basically things that are not FDA approved, they're not going to cover it. So you need to know when your doctor prescribes something that your insurance company is going to have to authorize, hey, is this experimental or is this going to go through?
Okay, so what about things that are like out of your control? For example, in a CBS News article about some horror healthcare insurance studies, they had on here about a 4-month-old baby who was denied health insurance because he was in the 99th percentile for height and weight for a baby his age.
Mm-hmm.
Like some of that is out of your control,
Right.
So after, of
Mm-hmm.
course, after it was disputed, I think the insurance company reversed their decision and of course allow health insurance for the child. But why do situations like that even occur? Again, this is something completely out of their control.
Mm-hmm.
You can't help, how fast a baby grows.
Right.
Some children grow faster than others, i.e., this 4-month-old baby. So, why
Mm-hmm.
do situations like this happen if this was completely out of the parents' control?
So these are human beings on the other end of the insurance company, and they're going by guidelines. And
Mm.
sometimes they make mistakes. Sometimes they they're overzealous, right, in applying the guidelines, or maybe they've read the information wrong. There might be a variety of reasons, which is why it's really important to appeal. Most of the decisions, the pre-authorization decisions that end up in a denial, if you just contact the insurance company, either you or your doctor, you can get that overturned and basically get the procedure or whatever it is that you're asking for, get that approved. And so, number one is really important to know what the denial reason is. Go over it with your doctor if necessary. Correspond with the insurance company. Like I said, either you or your doctor. When you do that, it's best to have a paper trail because you want to document everything. So it's good to, call them, that's fine, but probably best by email so you have some sort of paper trail record. And if it's a mistake, like they misread it or whatever, then once you get in touch with them, they'll reverse their decision. Um, if it's a benefit that's just not covered, and let me go back. You had asked me specifically about the baby and being high weight.
Right.
So that just might be again that they were overzealous. They didn't read the request carefully to understand, you know, this baby was large for age or whatever the extenuating circumstances were. And so it got appealed and got overturned, and they got whatever they needed approved.
Okay. So I have a personal experience that
Mhm.
recently I was, you know, went in to work out, right? Going to lose some weight, but in the process of losing the weight, my blood sugar got high, right? Just I was on the wrong diet, just wrong diet, but I was losing weight, building muscle, and it came apparent that I needed to be checked. So my doctor asked for a continuous glucose monitor, and my insurance company denied them. And then it was a month before I could get continuous glucose monitor. Recently, United Healthcare, a major insurance carrier, said that they're going to come out and you're going to need pre-authorization for colonoscopies, which can increase the risk of cancer. And some people may not even get it. I mean, are they not thinking about the long-term things,
Mhm.
Dr. Mill? Or I know it's two
Yeah,
different things. I know it's two
it's two
different
different
things.
things. Yeah,
People always
but
bring up
let's
the personal thing first, and I wanted to
right.
bring up mine so I can have experience. But
Yeah. Well,
what?
let's deal with that first. So, regarding I don't know what the reason was, but
Mhm.
it got overturned, right?
Right,
When it was appealed, it just took longer than you expected. It could be because there was no diagnosis of diabetes.
right.
So without a diagnosis of diabetes, then the insurance company looks at it and goes, "Well, this person isn't diabetic. They don't need a continuous glucose monitor." But then as soon as your doctor called and explained what the situation was, then they
Mhm.
overturned it. So again, the importance of appealing, right?
The po-
Don't just take no for an answer, so to speak.
Is your doctor? It seems like your doctor is really important.
Yes.
Advocate for you with the
Yes.
insurance company.
Absolutely, because also a lot of times it also has to do with the doctor's documentation. So if they have left out some key information that
Hmm.
the insurance company needs, the insurance company is just going to deny it. And then when the doctor calls and says, "Hey, why'd you deny this request?" They'll say, "Oh, well, we didn't have, a diagnosis of diabetes." Then they'll say, "Okay, well, this is the circumstances, and this is why the continuous glucose monitor is needed." Boom. Now, to your second point, though, regarding the colonoscopies, that was a recent decision. Apparently, it's going to go into effect June 1st. And there's a lot of pushback about that policy in terms of requiring pre authorization for colonoscopies because, like you said, just as for breast cancer, colon cancer is getting diagnosed earlier and earlier, and people really don't want to have colonoscopies anyway. So, by putting this barrier in there of requiring an authorization, it's just going to probably cause a lot of people to fall off the radar who really do need colonoscopies. So, I'm not sure what the reasoning was behind that at United Healthcare, but there's a lot of discussion already underway to see if that barrier can be taken off the table, and colonoscopies can just be like mammograms or any other kind of cancer screening, because the rate of colon cancer is on the rise.
People don't want to get colonoscopies, not because they don't want to get the colonoscopy. It's the day before the colonoscopy. It's the night before the colonoscopy. Nobody wants
Yes,
to
you
go through. Nobody wants to
you t-
suffer through the night before the colonoscopy.
you
And if
talking
you
about
have
the
not
bowel
had
prep,
one, God
right? For
bless you.
those people that have never had one, you have
I've
to
never
drink
had one.
a liquid that cleans out your entire system, and you're in the bathroom all night
It
so
is
that they
a
can.
10-hour bathroom. You can't go anywhere. You
Yeah,
can't go
you
anywhere.
Oh,
can't. Yeah.
I would tell you of one story, but it's not
Yeah.
going to be pretty. It's not going to be pretty or
We
smell
don't
good.
want to repeat it in prime time. There might be small children
There
listening.
might be small
But
children watching this at one point. It's not. It's a lot of,
right.
you stay awake. You basically stay awake. So by the time they give you anything to go to sleep, you're out. But you've stayed awake all night.
So yeah, we don't need any more barriers to colonoscopies. So hopefully, there'll be some decision reached that makes it to keep access open to colonoscopies for members at that particular insurance company. So, but there's some other reasons too. I talked about, maybe it's a mistake, you just didn't get the information. But there's also the benefit itself is not covered. So I'm trying to think of an example. Cosmetic surgery, right? That's not going to be covered. There is no
Right.
circumstance under which that would be considered, well, I shouldn't say it like that, because there actually are. If it's a breast reconstruction, for example, you lost your breast due to breast cancer, and there's a cosmetic procedure that needs to be done to reconstruct your breast, that would be covered. But if it's just, liposuction so that your waist can be 24 inches, that's not considered medically necessary. And so that introduces the phrase, something has to be medically necessary. It has to benefit your health and keeping you in good health. It can't just be for appearance's sake. And so the doctor has to justify, in these cases that require review ahead of time, is something medically necessary or not.
So, medically necessary could have a different meaning to different people. Does that really matter, or does the meaning of medical necessities or medically necessary on the meaning should only matter from the health insurance company? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, they define what is medically necessary. And that is what the whole pre-authorization process is all about. Is, is this request medically necessary? So let's say, for example, it's a request for a really expensive medication to treat heartburn. Well, they'll say that's not medically necessary because you haven't tried the cheap stuff. You haven't tried Tums. You haven't tried, some of the other medicines. I don't need to name them, but some of the other medicines that are less expensive but found to be effective before you try this thing that's, $500 a pill. So you have to show, again, that you've already tried certain things. If it's a matter of therapy, for example, I talked about rehabilitation therapy. You have to show that you're making progress. So you get the first, say, 25 visits automatically approved. But if you're not progressing, then it would be deemed not medically necessary because you're just going to therapy and no progress is happening.
So here you have another cog thrown into the wheel, right? Because somebody else has to look at you and say, well, you're not making progress. And so they report to the insurance company. So you're at the mercy of the rehabilitation people, right?
Or right. Who are professionals? Well, they are.
I mean,
they are trained, and there's certain.
I don't want to disparage the people in the rehabilitation field. I don't want to. We had family members in that field. Some just in every profession.
Some are better. Yes, really some are good, better than others.
Some are just there for the check and should not be in the field. But that's with any field.
That's with any field.
I'm not coming down
from music to sports to medicine.
Why you had to bring up music though?
She mentioned all of our professions, so that was good there, Dr. Mill.
Thank you very much.
I'm trying to be tough on our guests, Larissa. I'm trying to be tough on our guests. We want to ask poignant questions so we can get to the bottom of this denied but not, what she said.
Denied but not defeated.
Denied but not defeated.
So this is the thing about rehabilitation. So there are specific criteria that therapists use, physical therapists, occupational therapists, speech therapists, to determine
Mhm.
if you are making progress over time. And they have the power to say to the insurance company to be your advocate, you know, even though this person might not have made progress in the first 18 visits, I saw on visit 17 to 18 some progress. So therefore, I think that we should continue with an additional 18 visits because I'm now finally seeing progress after the first. So they can advocate on your behalf if the certain number of therapy visits are up and there hasn't been obvious progress, but let's say the last 2 or 3 visits, they did finally see a little bit of progress. So again, there's wiggle room, but it has to be conversations that are had with the insurance company.
Okay.
And then the other piece is making sure that you're clear to your advocate, whether that's the doctor or the therapist, or if you're talking to them, the company directly, emphasize the consequences if you don't get the requested service. That's really important. And the consequences really revolve around how is it going to affect your ability to function? So
Mhm.
let's say you have chronic pelvic pain, just picking something out of the air, and there's a procedure that you need. Document how that, or tell them, how is that pelvic pain keeping me from living the life I need to live? So I can't sit for long periods of time, so it's interrupting my ability to work because I have to sit at work for 8 hours in a chair at the computer to get my work done, or I can't go grocery shopping, and so therefore, I'm starving at home because I can't go out and get my groceries. Whatever the issue is, document and explain how it's affecting your quality of life. And that is a really compelling argument, oftentimes, to get things approved.
Okay. Okay. What if you get denied anyway? What are the common reasons that they use for denial? What if you just get denied?
Right. So we talked about a couple of them already. It's just a mistake. So call, give them the additional information you need. The benefit wasn't covered. We talked about that. Not meeting medical necessity. And if you
Where can you go?
discuss, well, if you
I'm sorry.
discuss all those things, and yeah, no, that's a good question. There is an escalation of the appeals process. So you did
Uh,
your first appeal, it got denied anyway. You can request an outside reviewer. So somebody who doesn't work for the insurance company is called an external reviewer to come in and look at the facts of what you're asking for, to make sure that there's no bias. And
But you
also
need
at
to
this
ask, I'm sorry, Dr. Mel, but you need to ask for this outside person only after you go through
the
that
appeals
first appeal
process.
process?
Right, exactly.
Oh,
Right. Because like I
okay.
said, a lot of times, let's say 80% of the time, that initial appeal will be successful, right? You'll get
Mm.
what you need, maybe because of the lack of information, they needed more information, etc. Or they needed you to try some other options first before, moving on to the option that you requested. So 80% of the time that'll be taken care of. So for the rest of the times, you can ask now, if you've been denied, move on to the external reviewer.
mhm,
And in some states, you could check your state insurance website. So, insurance is governed by states, and the main exception to that is Medicare because it's a federal program. But
mhm.
all the others are commercial insurances, are regulated by the state. So you can check your state website to see what is the process for getting an external reviewer, especially if it's a state sponsored external reviewer who would,
Mhm.
again, look at the particulars of your case.
So would that be like a ombudsman or something?
So that's a little different. So we're talking about somebody who actually directly reviews the
Oh,
information.
okay.
An ombudsman is an advocate.
Mm.
Okay.
So, personal story, I required a test for sleep apnea.
You?
It was I did, yes. It was covered by my insurance. So, my doctor put the request in, and I showed up at the hospital. I asked the person at the hospital, "Hey, I'm here for my sleep study. Was it pre-approved?" They're like, "Yes, it was pre-approved." Went and had the sleep study. 3 weeks later, I get a letter, "Your sleep study was denied. You should have had a home sleep study as opposed to going to the hospital. So we're denying it. You're stuck paying this $3,000 bill."
Whoa.
So I did all the steps that we've talked about. I wrote the insurance company. I had my doctor appeal and explain that, I needed the sleep study. And they kept saying, well, it wasn't the issue that you needed the sleep study. It was where it was done, because in the hospital is more expensive than doing it at home. So after I exhausted all these appeal options, I went to the state ombudsman. And again, you can find that just by Googling your specific state insurance ombudsman. And I was assigned a nurse, and the nurse actually called the insurance company, called the hospital. But because it was coming from the state, they looked at everything all over again. Finally, the hospital admitted, oh, well, we said that it was approved, but it wasn't actually approved. It was a mistake on our part.
Hmm.
And so the hospital and the insurance company had to settle it between them, and I wasn't held liable. So that was basically how it played out. But the key was, the moral of the story, everybody, is to, if you've exhausted everything else, go to your state ombudsman who acts like an advocate for you in those instances. And you really, again, keep a paper trail, because they're going to need that information to best represent you.
So, Dr. Mo, you talked about preventative ways. You talked about even if you go through all of this and sometimes you're still denied, what to do. You talked about some of the extra resources out there to help you, dispute certain cases. Are there any resources out there to assist those with covering medical bills, medical expenses?
Yeah. So let me mention one other one other than the state insurance commissioner ombudsman. Um, there's an organization called patientadvocate.org. They're a nonprofit. They too can act as your advocate, but they'll probably need the exact same things, all the documentation that that the state ombudsman would request. But that's patientadvocate.org. So now, if everything pans out and you are stuck with a bill, because whatever has been denied, your stay in the hospital was denied after it already happened, um, your stay in rehab was denied, the equipment that you got was denied, you can't send it back. um, there are resources to help you. They're all pretty much 501c3 organizations that have a mission to help people not go into debt because of medical costs. And the first is the Catastrophic Illness Child Relief Fund. So obviously, this is just for children under 22. So they received the service and they were less than 22 years old. For the family, as long as it is over a certain percentage of your income, and it varies by state.
Yeah.
So for example, I think New Jersey is 10% of your income, right? So if the cost is over 10% of your income and there are no other resources, it's not covered by insurance, no state or federal programs, then they will help you pay off that bill. And the other two are similar to that, but they're for anybody, any age. So the Patient Access Network Foundation, that helps underinsured people who have life-threatening chronic and rare diseases get medications and treatments, and assist them with their out-of-pocket costs. And another is called the HealthWell Foundation at healthwellfoundation.org. And again, they help you with co-pays, premiums, deductibles, out-of-pocket expenses for any supplies, supplements, surgeries based upon the disease that you have. So a lot of these are disease-based. You have to have the certain condition that they help with, right? And I mention a lot more in Excuse Me, Doctor, I've got what? I mentioned a lot more in the book, but those are just 3 examples of 3 that are specifically set up. They're nonprofits to help people who are saddled with medical debt get out from under it.
So, so also, I a lot of the unions, and I know in music, our union helps, even though they provide us with our health insurance, they hired a health insurance carrier, provide us with a carrier, they still help outside of that. I know for musicians who are R&B, who are legacy artists, the Rhythm and Blues Foundation is a great resource. And the Grammy Foundation, actually, it's called Music Cares, actually started as for a lot of musicians who were affected, recording artists who were affected by drug epidemic, but they help also. So I guess people really, there are resources out there, and you got to go find them.
Right. But I think that brings up a great point. If you belong to a union or a professional organization, try there first. If you work for an organization that has an employee assistance program, you can try there first. And then again, these other three options, one is state run. So that's the Catastrophic Illness Child Relief Fund is state run. And the others are nonprofits that are also available to you as well.
So we have a question from Tawana Juicy Haywood. She says, hi, is the authorization for colonoscopy required by all insurance companies?
Great question, Tawana. No, this usually, if your doctor orders a colonoscopy, there is not an authorization process for it. And so this new ruling from United Healthcare that would be effective June 1st is new. And that's why there's a lot of pushback around it and people trying to understand why this was put into place. So, and seeing if, what the exceptions are and if it could go away altogether. So that's not the case unless, again, you have United Healthcare, and it doesn't start until June 1st.
Okay. Yvonne Z said hospitals sometimes have funds for that. Talk about
exactly.
that, Dr. Mel.
Yes. So hospitals are specifically funded oftentimes by the jurisdiction that they're in to provide a certain amount of what's called uncompensated care. That's free care. So basically, if you can show that your income is not enough to pay the bill, they can write off a certain amount of debt. And I believe, they don't have to pay taxes on it, et cetera. There's incentives built into the way they do business to honor the fact that they give away a certain amount of free care. So if you can show that you should qualify it for that, you can negotiate your hospital bill on based upon that principle with the hospital. But excellent point. Thank you, Yvonne, for bringing that up.
Right. So we come to that time, Dr. Mel. We have to come to that time where we have to go back to the top of the question. It's been a great discussion. This has been a great discussion, though.
Good.
So what is before we go back to our top question? What's the takeaway here? Is it appeal?
Yeah, the takeaway, and we never said this, but I did at one point work for an insurance company. I was the person who was reviewing those requests. So I am speaking from experience. That is one of the reasons why I wrote the book, because I want people to know, hey, do not give up. Do not take no for an answer. If it's something that you need and there are no other no other ways to get it, and it's required for your health, keep pushing on, request, and appeal, and go through these steps, because oftentimes it can be approved in the end.
So we just so happen to have a picture of the book right above your head.
There we go.
Our producers are fantastic on this show. They get to it.
Excuse me, doctor, I've got what? taking ownership of your health and making healthcare reform work for you. You got to say it with attitude.
Where can they get the book, Dr. Mel?
So they can get it at drmelissaclark.com.
All right.
Or they can get it on Amazon. But if you get it from Dr. Melissa Clark, you'll get an autograph copy.
So that's Dr. Melissa Clark with an E.com, right?
That is right. Yep.
Wow.
Absolutely.
So we have to go back. We have to go back now. Thank you so much, Dr. Mel, for all answering all of it. It makes a great, Yvonne said it makes a great gift. All right. There we go.
All right.
We have to go back to
what y'all think? So again, the what y'all think question. You guys have to tell us what you think. Is the pandemic over? Is COVID officially over?
So here's what we have from our gallery. Dion Brown, downtown Dion Brown says, doesn't matter what I think. Dorona is still raging.
Good point, Dion.
Doesn't matter what you think. And so Tracy Walls says, COVID is here to stay like the flu. Prepare to get boosters and always protect yourself. Keep washing your hands, stay a safe distance, and finally, stay boosted. Come on, Tracy Walls.
That's right.
That's what she thinks. Hold on. We have a, and look, Yvonne says, Spanish flu lasted till 1960.
Wow.
That's not helping me, Yvonne.
And it started in 1918. Let's just say that.
1918.
Yeah.
Lasted 42 years.
Sheesh.
Yeah.
Sheesh.
So that is important. And I think
that means we got 39 left.
No.
Well, we don't know the time. However, I think it's important to keep in mind that those with chronic underlying conditions, like we talked about, obesity, high blood pressure, heart disease, undergoing cancer treatment, whatever, or if you're over 75 and you need to get boosted, get that second bivalent booster if it's been more than 6 months. So all the people who got that first bivalent one in the fall, it's been more than 6 months. It's time to go back out and get it.
All right, Dr. Mel, thank you so much. We got to go to your one shot now. You got to tell everybody goodbye.
All right. Well, I am so delighted that you all tuned in again this week. This was a really fun show. Thank you to my co-host who grilled me mercilessly, but we got the information out there that I hope everybody can use. Thank you for your great questions and comments in the chat. Keep them coming. And until I see you next week, I have to also remind you that Howard University COVID Resilience Study is still accepting enrollees. So tell all your friends, $100 compensation just for filling out 2 forms. It's entirely voluntary. And go to Dana Harvey Research at gmail.com. DANAHARVEY research at gmail.com. And so remember, until I see you next time, be wise, be well, and be health empowered. Bye.
So I guess I should thank the Robinsons. They invited me. They still don't know. I hooked up with Dave 3 days ago. He'll start coughing tomorrow. And I bet in 10 days he'll be on a ventilator. Now his wife, she's not vaccinated because she thinks it'll prevent her from being pregnant. But what they don't know is that I can decrease sperm count. Sorry, Dave. Good luck with that.